Have you ever stood in the middle of a supermarket, surrounded by colorful aisles and endless choices, and felt a false sense of security? You look around and see abundance. But I need you to look closer. What you are actually looking at is a ticking time bomb. The reality is that our entire modern food system is built on a fragile, just-in-time supply chain that is razor thin. Experts estimate that in a major crisis, whether it's a grid-down scenario, a global conflict, or a pandemic, the average grocery store will be stripped bare in less than 3 days. That meat aisle, it's a biological hazard waiting to happen. Those fresh vegetables, they are already dying the moment they are picked. We have built a civilization dependent on food that is designed to rot. We rely on expiration dates as if they are guarantees of safety. But when the trucks stop moving, those dates become a countdown to starvation. Most families are unknowingly living just 9 meals away from anarchy to survive what is coming. You must stop thinking like a modern consumer and start thinking like a survivalist. You need to step out of the fragile timeline of perishable goods and start building a pantry that stands outside of time. You need specific foods that defy the laws of decay. Foods that will be edible not just 5 years from now, but potentially when our current society is nothing but a chapter in a history book. Today, we are not just stocking up, we are building a fortress of nutrition. Here are the elite 12 foods that literally never expire. Item number 1 is the foundation of civilization itself, salt. This isn't just a seasoning to make your dinner taste better. In a survival situation, salt is life itself. It is the only rock that humans eat, and it is crucial for your survival. Historically, salt was so valuable that Roman soldiers were paid in it. That is where the word salary comes from. Without sodium, your body cannot maintain fluid balance. Your muscles will cramp and your nerve signals will fail. You will literally cease to function. But its value goes beyond biology. Salt is the ultimate preservative. It creates a hostile environment where bacteria cannot survive because it draws moisture out of their cells via osmosis, effectively destroying them. You can use it to cure meats, preserve fish, and tan hides for clothing. Store it in mylar bags or seal buckets to keep moisture out, and it will last indefinitely. 1,000 years from now, it will still be salt. Do not just buy a few shakers, stockpile this by the tens of pounds. Item number 2 is pure energy in crystalline form, white granulated sugar. Now, I know what you're thinking: sugar is bad for you. In a world of abundance, yes, it contributes to obesity. But in a collapse scenario, calories are the currency of survival, and sugar is high-octane rocket fuel. Unlike brown sugar, which contains molasses and moisture that can harbor bacteria over time, white sugar is desiccated. It is inhospitable to microbial growth because it dehydrates anything that tries to live on it. Even if it turns into a solid brick from humidity, it is perfectly safe. You just need to break it apart and dissolve it. It provides an instant spike in glucose for energy when you need to work hard or flee danger. Furthermore, sugar has medicinal properties. Packed into an open wound, it can act as a bacteriostatic agent, preventing infection when antibiotics are gone. Store it in airtight containers to keep pests out, because in a calorie-deficient world, this white powder is liquid gold. Item number 3 is what I call nature's alchemy: raw honey. This is the only food on the planet that is essentially immortal. Archaeologists digging in ancient Egyptian tombs have uncovered pots of honey buried alongside pharaohs over 3,000 years ago. When they opened them, they didn't find dust, they found honey that was still perfectly edible. Think about that for a second. A food that outlasts empires. How is this possible? Honey is a biological miracle. It has an incredibly low moisture content and a naturally acidic pH, which creates an environment where bacteria simply cannot survive. Furthermore, bees add an enzyme called glucose oxidase, which produces hydrogen peroxide, a natural antibiotic. However, there is a critical warning here. You must buy raw, unfiltered honey. The cheap, translucent syrup in the plastic bear at the grocery store is often ultra-filtered or cut with corn syrup. That garbage will ferment and spoil. Real honey might crystallize over time, turning into a hard, amber rock. Do not throw this away. That is not spoilage. That is a sign of purity. All you have to do is gently heat it, and it returns to its liquid gold state. In a world without doctors or pharmacies, honey is more than food. It is a wound dressing for burns, a throat lozenge for infections, and a morale booster when life gets bitter. Item number 4 is the ultimate calorie battery, white rice. Notice I said white rice, not brown. In the health community, brown rice is king. But in the survival community, brown rice is a liability. It contains natural oils in the hull that will go rancid in just 6 months to a year, turning your stockpile into an edible waste. White rice, however, has had those oils removed. It is pure carbohydrate energy that, when stored correctly, has a shelf life of over 30 years. It is the fuel that will keep you moving when the grid is down. But here is the secret that most beginners miss. You cannot just leave the bag on the shelf. Store-bought rice often contains microscopic eggs of weevils that are just waiting to hatch. To prevent your pantry from becoming an insect farm, you need to create a vacuum-sealed tomb. You must use mylar bags with oxygen absorbers inside food-grade buckets. The oxygen absorber sucks the life out of the bag, suffocating any potential pests and preventing oxidation. When you crack that seal to decades from now, the air will rush back in, and that rice will taste exactly as it does today. It might be boring, it might be tasteless on its own, but make no mistake, in a famine, a bowl of hot rice is the difference between life and death. Item number 5 serves a dual-purpose nutrition and psychology. Dried pasta. Specifically, I recommend spaghetti. Why? It comes down to physics and space management. Spaghetti packs much tighter than shapes like rotini or pen, meaning you can store significantly more calories per cubic inch in your limited storage space. Pasta is essentially semolina flour and water that has been hardened into a construction material, like rice. It despises moisture. If you keep it dry and sealed, it lasts indefinitely. But pasta offers something rice doesn't: the comfort factor. In a collapse scenario, mental health is just as vital as physical health. When the world outside is chaotic and dangerous, sitting down to a familiar bowl of noodles creates a psychological anchor to the old world. It releases dopamine. It creates a sense of normalcy for your family, especially children. For just 15 minutes, do not underestimate the power of morale. Sometimes, feeling normal is what gives you the will to keep surviving. Item number 6 is what I call the protein mummy. Dried beans, kidney beans, pinto beans. Black beans, these are essentially little rocks of potential life. When sealed in mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, they have a shelf life of 30 years or more. But here is the survival science that makes them indispensable. Rice and beans are individually incomplete, but when eaten together, they form a complete protein. They provide every essential amino acid your body needs to repair muscle and tissue, effectively replacing meat in a world where cattle herds have vanished. You can survive on rice and beans alone for a decade. You won't be happy, but you will be alive. However, there is a catch that most preppers ignore until it's too late. The older the bean, the harder it gets. A 20-year-old dried bean is like a pebble. It might require boiling for 12 hours to become edible. In a grid-down scenario, fuel, whether it's propane or firewood, is just as precious as food. You cannot afford to waste a day's worth of wood just to cook dinner. The solution: stockpile a pressure cooker now. It forces moisture into the bean rapidly, saving your fuel and your sanity. Item number 7 is the survival steak. Canned meats. We're talking Spam, corned beef, and canned tuna. People often joke about Spam, but let me tell you, in the apocalypse, a can of Spam is a 5-star steak dinner. It is calorie-dense, salty, and fatty, everything a starving body craves. The canning process is essentially cooking food inside a steel coffin under high pressure. It creates a sterile environment where time stops. Ignore the best by date printed on the bottom. The date is for taste and texture, not safety. The USDA themselves admit that as long as the can is intact, the food is safe to eat indefinitely. I have personally eaten military rations from World War II that were over 70 years old. Did they taste fresh? No. Did they provide fuel? Yes. But you must be vigilant. Inspect your stockpile annually. If a can is bulging, leaking, or rusted, throw it far away. A bulging can indicates the presence of Clostridium botulinum bacteria. That produces a neurotoxin. In a world without ventilators, botulism isn't just an illness. It is a death sentence. Stockpile these cans by the case, not the unit. Item number 8 is the ghost of dairy. Powdered milk, specifically non-fat dried milk. This distinction is vital. Whole milk powder contains fats, and fats oxidize and go rancid quickly, spoiling in just a few years. Non-fat milk powder, however, has had the enemy removed. When stored in mylar, it lasts for 20 years. Now, I'll be honest, reconstituted powdered milk tastes like chalky water. It's not pleasant, but you aren't storing it for a refreshing glass of milk. You are storing it for calcium and protein to maintain bone density when your diet is limited. More importantly, you need it for chemistry. You cannot bake bread, make biscuits, or create simple comfort foods without it. It haunts your pantry quietly until the day you need to bake a loaf of bread to keep your family as spirits up. Item number 9 is not just food. It is a chemical weapon against decay. White vinegar. While apple cider vinegar has health benefits, it can develop sediment and spoil over a decade. White distilled vinegar, however, lasts forever. Why? Because it is essentially dilute acetic acid. Bacteria and mold cannot survive in such a highly acidic pH environment. In a survival scenario, vinegar is the ultimate multi-tool. You will use it to pickle the vegetables you grow in your garden, preserving them for winter without refrigeration. When hygiene supplies run out, it becomes a powerful disinfectant for cleaning surfaces and treating minor wounds. When your family is tired of bland rice and beans, the acidity of vinegar cuts through the monotony, stimulating the appetite. Stockpile gallons of it in glass bottles, as plastic will degrade and leach chemicals over decades. It is the liquid shield standing between you and a bacterial infection. Item number 10 is a luxury that becomes a necessity. Pure vanilla extract. Make sure you read the label. It must be alcohol-based, not the imitation stuff made with glycerin or corn syrup. Because of the high alcohol content, pure vanilla has an indefinite shelf life. Why store this? Because flavor fatigue is a real psychological threat. Eating plain rice and beans for 300 days straight can lead to appetite loss and depression. A few drops of vanilla can transform a bland caloric mush into a morale-boosting treat. Furthermore, in a barter economy, tiny bottles of pure vanilla will trade like gold. It is a taste of the old world that people will pay dearly to remember. Item number 11 is the meal extender, corn starch. This fine powder is often overlooked, but it is critical. Unlike flour, which contains oils and gluten that can go rancid or attract pests, pure corn starch keeps forever if kept bone dry. In a famine, you will likely be making watery soups and stews to stretch your limited supplies. Corn starch is a powerful thickening agent that turns a meager broth into a hearty, filling meal that sticks to your ribs. It also has medicinal uses. It can be used to treat rashes, friction burns, and skin irritations when modern lotions are gone. Item number 12 is the white powder of life. Baking soda. Do not confuse this with baking powder, which expires. Pure sodium bicarbonate lasts indefinitely. Its value is threefold. First, for cooking. Without yeast, you need a leavening agent to make bread rise. Second, for hygiene. It is the best alternative to toothpaste and deodorant when the stores close. Third, and most importantly, for medicine. It is a potent antacid. In a high-stress survival situation, ulcers and indigestion will be rampant. A teaspoon of baking soda in water can settle a stomach and keep you in the fight. Here is the cold, hard reality. Civilization is fragile. The supply chain that feeds your family is a thread that is already fraying. When the thread snaps, whether due to war, economic collapse, or a cyber attack, the only thing you will have is what is in your house right now. Look at your pantry today. Do you see food, or do you see expiration dates? Do you see a future, or do you see a timer counting down to starvation? Stop buying food that is designed to die. Go to the store, buy the salt, seal the rice. Build your fortress, because when the silence comes, and the grocery stores are empty museums of the past, you won't be the one begging for help. You will be the one who was prepared. Subscribe to survive. This is the Primal Methods.